Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elena. I make lots of videos about my banking career, career choices, interview questions and answers, and many more videos. So in this video, I wanted to talk about whether working at the bank is worth it. Whether you choosing a career in finance, going through the whole diploma or degree if you're doing one, or any licenses that you're doing is really worth it in 2026. So guys, let me start by telling you guys how I got into banking. So when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know what interests me. I literally had no interest. I wasn't interested in arts, business, science. Well, business was okay, but I didn't know which area of business. So what I did was I went to my co-op teacher and I asked for a co-op placement and he said, "Where do you want this placement to be?" And I said, "I don't know." So he placed me somewhere random. So I ended up working at a large bank. That's when I got my first job at a bank, and from there, I decided to just go with it because I felt like I have experience to put on my resume. I don't have experience with anything else, so why not go with what I was doing before? So I ended up getting other jobs from that co op. I started off with a senior admin assistant with the corporate banking side, and then I went to the branch. I also went to call center. So I did lots of different areas within the bank, and I kept on going with it because I felt like I have the experience. It's going to be too late for me to start over. What else would I possibly do? So I actually had a diploma in financial services. That's what I got first when I went to college. I studied that because, like I said, I already did the co op in high school, and I said, why not study to become a banker? And then I went back to university and I got a bachelor in business as well, which I'll tell you guys a little bit more in a second. But basically, when I was doing my initial diploma, halfway through, I realized that you don't really need that to work at the bank. Like, you don't necessarily need to have a degree or diploma because when I was looking at the job ads for bank teller, it didn't say you have to have a degree or diploma. It said it's nice to have, and it said you have to have a high school diploma, but it didn't say anything about further education. So halfway through, I was starting to kind of regret it because another thing that I hated was during school, I had to take so many courses in math, so many courses in accounting, which is both my biggest weaknesses. Like, I hated those courses. I had to repeat it a couple times, especially for math as it got advanced. And it was just not my cup of tea. I felt like this is not what I'm interested in. So why do I want to work at the bank if I don't like anything related to numbers, accounting, or any of that? But then somebody told me, a friend at the time, that if you work at the bank, you don't need to know any math, you don't need to do any accounting. It's totally different than what you study. So I said to myself, okay, well, maybe they're right. Maybe the school part is what sucks, and I just have to get through this. And then once I get the actual job, it won't be as bad. What she said was true. When I did move into my jobs as a teller in corporate side, call center, all those banking jobs, none of them required me to know advanced math, accounting. Didn't have to deal with such numbers ever again. But what I didn't realize was that if you're not interested in whatever you're studying in, then you might not like the job because whatever you're studying for prepares you for the job and tells you about how it's going to be, or maybe like the type of environment you'll be in. So I should have take that as a sign that because I'm not interested in any of these subjects, that I find it so boring that maybe this is not an area that I'm interested in. Then when I did go to the bank and I was doing all these jobs, I was feeling fine with it because I felt like, well, there's gonna be a lot of career advancement and I'm gonna grow so much in my career, so I might as well do this. And also, I feel when you tell someone you work at the bank, they feel like you're doing something so cool, like they think you have the best job in the world. One of my friends, she's an elementary school teacher and she studied for so many years. Like, she took her bachelor's in education, she got a master's in education. And I told her I work for the bank. And you know what she told me? She said she wishes she can work at the bank and she has tried to apply for a bank before. And I was so surprised because why would you want to work at the bank when you're a teacher, when you have so much education? So people really think that the banking world is so exciting and it's such a nice career and you'll make so much money, which can be true, but it depends if that's really your area of interest. For me personally, some of the roles were okay, some were not so good, and some were the worst jobs I ever had. Like, for example, working at the call center was hell. Like, I never want to do that again. And even the jobs that were okay, like a bank teller or an advisor, those jobs were fine, but they were not like, I was not very passionate about those jobs. And so that's when I realized that whatever I studied might have been the wrong path. And I felt like there's other jobs that would be way more easier, where you would have way more work life balance, where you would have more flexibility. Because the thing is, when you work at the bank, you don't get much flexibility. It's like a 9 to 5. Most of the positions is every day in person. Like if you're a teller or advisor, you don't really get work from home options, and you're kind of just always working under someone. So I felt like I didn't like that part, and I actually went back to university when I did that business degree. I did my major in HR, and I wanted to slowly transition into HR, whether that's HR within banking or somewhere else. But I felt like it would be less stressful and it would be something I would be more passionate about. I felt like doing any other job within the bank, like something to do with accounting or advisor or teller, was too much for me. So I wanted to do something that was more fun, more people oriented, something where you can do more project work, which is what I studied then. I was happy to do that. Another thing is that in 2026, I feel like a lot of the jobs will slowly be replaced, such as tellers. A lot of places don't have tellers anymore around the world, and I think it will get to us soon with Canada and the US. There probably won't be a lot of tellers in the future. So your job being replaced by AI has a pretty high chance. So that's something you want to consider as well before you get into the banking career. As well as in 2026, everything is so expensive. Grocery is expensive, rent is expensive. You don't want to make minimum wage or even close to minimum wage. And a lot of the positions at the bank pay you close to minimum wage. Like if you're a bank teller, you're only making around $20 here in Canada. If you're an advisor, you're getting an additional $2, but it's not enough amount to be living in places like Toronto, Vancouver, New York. It just doesn't pay the bills. So I really wanted to go into a field or an area where I can make more money. If you are planning to switch your industry and go into finance and study something in finance, just make sure that you write down the cost of education, the cost of the licensing, and then what you're going to get paid after, and also the projected future of that role. Because if in 10 years you're still only making 50, 60K, that's not enough. You should be making at least six figures if you have so much experience. And I've seen a lot of people in the bank who have over 10 years of experience, but they're still only making 50K. In this economy, that is not enough. So make sure that you do your research and look into careers that pay you more. For me, I felt like HR was more growth opportunities, more flexibility, more work life balance, and that's why I changed into that field. You can also do other things. Another career I've been thinking about lately is therapist. Like if you open your own clinic and you can make money that way. So do look into your career choices. And if you think that you're going to make a lot of money working in the bank, you might be wrong unless you go to an area where you could make a lot of money, like development, project management. Those areas you might make more money and you might have less chance of your job being replaced by AI. But I know that some of the jobs like teller or even advisors may get replaced by AI. So be careful before you start thinking about those types of roles. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you did, and don't forget to subscribe.